It's unconscionable to apply hateful terms like racist and bigot to innocent people just to gain cheap political advantage. Because once those labels are falsely applied, where do you go to get your reputation back? My next guest is an expert on both white supremacist groups and those who falsely use that label to slander political opponents. She's led an inspiring life, overcoming poverty, teenage motherhood, and divorce, dropping out of high school in the 9th grade, but later going on to earn a doctorate and was professor at Vanderbilt University. She's author of a Pulitzer Prize-nominated book, and her latest book is called Abduction: How Liberalism Steals the Hearts and Minds of Our Children. I'm very honored to have Dr. Carol Swain with us. Carol, good to see you. I am convinced you are hitting a nerve in things that you write, things that you say, because you have been labeled, and I find this amazing, an apologist for white supremacists. Now, looking at you, I'm not seeing where that fits.
Well, it doesn't fit. And I was probably one of the first victims of the Southern Poverty Law Center. Back in 2009, I published a blog criticizing them and pointing out that they were engaging in mission creep. Mission creep is when an organization loses sight of its original purpose and it goes off into other areas. Well, the Southern Poverty Law Center, back in 2009, they had started attacking immigration restrictionists, labeling them as haters. And at that point, I knew that something was wrong. I wrote my blog, and 6 weeks later, I was on the cover of the Tennessean, and the Southern Poverty Law Center, a representative was quoted calling me an apologist for white supremacy. And at the time, it changed my life in that I did not have the platform I have today, and I was being attacked all across the country, and that did not subside until the Wall Street Journal published an article in defense of Carol Swain.
Well, it's got to be frustrating, though, as an African-American woman, to be called an apologist for white supremacists, for heaven's sakes. I mean, I don't even know where they could come of that, but the Southern Poverty Law Center may be one of the biggest frauds in America today. Why is it that the national media consider them some authoritative organization? Because they're always using their labels, calling people hate groups that are anything but hate groups.
Because when they were founded back in 1971, they started off with a noble cause. They were after the Klan, the neo-Nazis. There's no one in here sympathetic to those groups.
No, no one.
Right, and so at that time, they were doing something that was important, but there's not many Klansmen left in America or neo-Nazis. And so at some point, they started going after mainstream organizations, tarring individuals, smearing them with the hate label, and more recently, they have gone after churches, they have gone after conservative organizations, and so they label anyone who is not liberal as haters and extremists, and they give leftist organizations a free pass. And so you won't find Black Lives Matters or Antifa or the Muslim Brotherhood, any of those organizations listed as hate organizations.
But you see the Family Research Council, which is anything but. You and I both know Tony Perkins and Jerry Boykin and people who are there. And a few years ago, because the Southern Poverty Law Center designated them a hate group, which was absurd, there was a person who was inspired by that to go into the lobby of Family Research Council and start shooting. And had it not been for the intervention of the security guard, he would have killed everyone in the building. He said that was his stated goal.
And the shooter, the man that shot Representative Scalise, and he targeted Republican members of Congress, he was a social media fan of the Southern Poverty Law Center. And so they do inspire hate when they label organizations as hate groups and when they smear individuals. And more recently, there was a young woman who works for Campus Reform, early 20s. She was listed in Hate Watch because she gave an interview to Tony Perkins about socialism. It had nothing to do with LGBT issues, but because they have labeled the Family Research Council as a hate group, she gave an interview to the Family Research Council they labeled her as a hater.
Are we in danger of losing the simple concept of free speech on our university campuses?
We've lost it at most universities, and not just the secular ones, the Christian ones also. And going back to the Southern Poverty Law Center, it's very serious that members of Congress call them to testify. And so they're actually shaping the laws that govern us, even though they have no objective scientific standard for who or what gets labeled as a hate group or as an extremist. And so this is very dangerous for America, that they would have that kind of influence, and the journalists who cite them are too lazy to do research.
Well, Carol, I hope people will realize that there is a different perspective, and it comes from Carol Swain in a book called Abduction: How Liberalism Steals Our Children's Hearts and Minds. And also, remember that she's got a blog as well as a radio show, videos, much more. You can visit her website at bethepeopletv.com. That's bethepeopletv.com. I promise if you go to the website, you'll keep coming back for more. This absolutely amazing person, Dr. Carol Swain. So great to see you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.